Hi, I'm Jeanne Schumacher, founder of Simply Plant-Based, where I have programs to help you to change your health destiny, including the Plant-Based Academy, where I provide help, support, guidance, and resources to switch to a plant-based lifestyle. Today, I have the privilege and honor of connecting with Kim Anderson. As a successful business leader of more than 35 years, Kim is without question an entrepreneur du jour. She's co-founder and GP of EverHope Capital and is the driving force behind Plant City in Providence, Rhode Island, which is the first plant-based vegan food hall and marketplace. And if that wasn't enough, then Plant City X. These are the first plant-based drive-thrus in Middletown and Warwick, Rhode Island. So Kim, thank you so much for taking the time to be with me here today.
Pleasure to be with you, Jeanne. Thank you.
Well, you've got some things up your sleeve, but first, I need to know, tell us your story. What made you go plant-based to start?
Thank you. That's a wonderful story. Our son came home from university with an environmental studies degree and said, if you have a family of means, you have an obligation to invest in climate solutions. So we started working with renewable energies, carbon sequestration, battery storage, all kinds of things that could remove or prevent global greenhouse gases, methane, carbon, etc. And about a year or two into that work, he got Lyme, and we ended up pulling him from a master's program to have a PICC line in his chest straight to his aorta with very heavy duty antibiotics. And he said, I am not going to waste this year on the couch. I'm going to spend this time trying to figure out what I should be eating to prevent my gut from the onslaught of antibiotics. And he came away with a whole food plant-based diet. And he matched that with his environmental studies degree and thought, okay, these two are joined, and I was never really taught about the environmental devastation of animal agriculture or the climate contributions of the methane and carbon from that food system. And he basically said to us, okay, it's gonna be a long time before everybody has an electric vehicle. It's gonna be a long time before this world has enough renewable energies to be completely supported by those, let alone a grid that can capture it, move it, remove it, store it, release it thousands of miles away. But if we can move millions of people away from animal agriculture, we can hit our Paris Accord numbers and our climate obligations as a country, despite who's in Congress or on the White House. And I thought, okay, you're eating plant-based. I got to learn something else that my kids have told me to feed you. I'll try to figure this out. And a few months later, he said, for Christmas, I don't want any presents. I don't want any gifts. I just want you to watch these movies and give me the time to talk about them. And there was a long list, but it only took 2. And if you'd said that I would have been a vegetarian for the rest of my life before I watched the first one, I would have called you a liar. And yet after the 2, the next morning, we watched Forks Over Knives on the health side and Cowspiracy on the environment side. And as an environmentalist who cares about my health, the next morning I called and we're like, all right, we're plant-based. What do you eat for breakfast? We'll figure it out from here. And literally haven't knowingly eaten an animal product since then.
Wow. Well, I know, like, you are a woman of, like, once you believe in, that's it. You're gung-ho about it. And getting the word out. I mean, about going plant-based. I mean, from starting.
I've always lived by this philosophy that if you have important information that's changed your life, you have an obligation to share it with other people. And you know, my daughter's previous business, we felt the same way. How could I be this age and have achieved things in my life and yet not know about this? And I'm like, there must be other people out there who don't know about this. And they would want to make the change too, and they would certainly want the information. You know, we're all trying to lead a healthy life, a long life. What do they say? The average American is on drugs and sick for 16 years before they die. That's not how I want to live my life, right? And I was 52 when I first found out about this. So there's no judgment, right? It's just about getting that information to as many people as possible.
Well, see, I mean, you put your money where your mouth is, that's for sure. I mean, starting Plant City, I mean, and then like, okay, you take lemons and make exquisite lemonade with it. I mean, like, seriously, like, okay, during COVID, okay, when everybody was like shutting down, you're like, okay, let's find some drive-thrus and we'll make them into Plant City X. You know, it's like, okay, wow. I mean, you know, but now you're on to a new initiative. I mean, this is movie nights. Talk to us about this.
Sure. Well, so that same feeling that I had the next morning after I watched those movies, I turned around and did movie nights in my house. So every other week, we would invite 100 or 200 people, and 10 to 20 would show up. And I would do a movie, and I learned which ones I liked, which ones really moved the needle, which ones helped people move to action. And over the course of 8 or 9 months, moved a couple hundred people from animal-based diets to plant-based eating. And if not all in, leaning in hard, because as we know, once you have the science and the information, it's kind of hard to forget it. You may not act on it all in, but you're going to make changes unless you just have your head in the sand. And, there are people like that. There's nothing we can do about it. Next, right? Next. So, all those people kept coming to me and saying, I need recipes. So I started a Facebook page. I think I have 20,000 followers on it, called Powered by Plants RI. It's not active, but it's now an archive of thousands of whole food, plant-based, low salt, oil, sugar recipes. And people would say, great, Kim, I could do this at home, but I can't do it when I go out. And so that's what really gave me the idea for Plant City. I actually had one woman say, I don't do it when I go out. And I thought, gosh, doesn't that really stink that we're trying to eat for our health and the healthcare costs of our community and our country, for the animals, for the health of the planet, for social justice reasons? It's like the Swiss Army knife of most of the world's global problems, right? And a really bad math problem, putting 35 pounds of grain through a cow to get a pound of beef. If we diverted that grain, we could also solve starvation, right? So it's really solves so many issues. And I just wanted to share it with as many people as possible.
Right. So what about these movie nights that you're doing?
Right. So I'm trying to copy that formula. And I'm only one person, but what if there were a lot of me? And that's the goal. Is I've reached out to many major organizations under the umbrella of vegan and plant-based, whether they're there for the environment, health, climate, social justice, animal ethics. There's a lot of reasons, right, why people come to a plant-based diet. I've found that they tend to stay if they understand them all, because in America, obviously, and other places, as humans, we change our diet like we change our underwear. So I try to give people the full scope of why, but let's get the information to them first to start moving in that direction. And the movies are the way to do it. So Global Movie Night is going to be the first Monday of every month. We're going to ask people who care about this issue, for themselves, for the animals, for the planet, whatever brought them to it, to invite others to it too through a movie. It's a really easy thing to do. Invite your friends, over-invite, as we know, because not everybody's gonna be able to come. So, if you can fit 3 in your living room, invite 10. It could get cozy with 4 people, but it's a really wonderful way to share this information with the people that you care about. It's not pushy, it's love on a silver platter. Invite me into this journey. And it's just sharing a movie. It's non-committal. You can open your fridge, share some of the food that you have, because food is always a great entry, but I don't want to be a barrier to somebody to doing it. You buy a bag of popcorn that's plant-based without butter and put that out in a bowl and a bunch of grapes and call it a day. And then we'll have a website where once people watch the movie and have questions, they can come back and get some questions answered. Next steps, the best places for recipes, the best place for science and of nutrition, the best places for podcasts, and who to follow on Instagram, and what movies to watch in addition. And then just hopefully every month build this movement with the help of all of those organizations that I've spoken to that think this is really a phenomenal idea and are willing to share it with their millions of followers. So Jeanne, how amazing would it be by April, if we keep building this thing and scaling it, if we could have 1 million people host all around the world a movie, Game Changers, Forks Over Knives, What the Health, right? And have 10 people on average in their living room. 10 million people would now have this information. And I know the numbers, and you know the numbers. 2 million of those are going plant-based overnight. And the others are going to be leaning into varying degrees. It could potentially get there as well. But the ideas are at least going to be there. So if we want to move the needle on this, everybody's got to do some lifting together. All boats rise with the tide, right? Many hands make light work. If everybody does a little bit together, the numbers could be astronomical, right? So that's the goal, is bring people the information and do it together and feel a part of something. And at the very least, if you invite your friends and Grandpa Joe, they're at least going to understand why you're doing what you're doing. And they're not going to think you're weird. And they're not going to think you're going to die from a lack of protein. They're going to have an understanding of what you're doing and maybe not make fun of you anymore, right? At the very least, they're going to understand what you're doing. So that's the goal. I think understanding this can then go to their restaurants locally and say, hey, why don't you serve more plant-based food? Because I'm now leaning in that way and I love your restaurant, right? So it's all part of that circle, but it starts with knowledge. And the movies are the easiest, most non-committal, non-judgmental, loving way to do it.
Oh, absolutely. But I don't think in my family they'll still stop teasing me because I'm the only one. So that's
Have they seen the movies?
I'm sorry?
Have they seen the movies?
They have. They have.
Okay. And they still tease you?
Well, they still tease me and they're still...
Well, all right. Can't push a rope, Jeanne. I can't help you with that one.
No, it's true. But, and I look at it this way, I'm setting an example. But out of 5 siblings, I'm the only one who's not on a sleep app machine, who is on medication. I mean, who can still get up and move around. So, because I'm up here on Cape Cod and I took a lot to get up here and I want to be here out kayaking and hiking and biking all around. I don't want to be in the nursing home, just saying.
It speaks volumes, right?
Right?
It speaks volumes.
Yeah.
Sorry, a CPAP machine is an ugly way to go.
Oh, man. Oh, I tried it once and went, no.
We try to be a conduit for information, but we're only in Providence, Rhode Island. So this global movie nights is a way to really ramp that up and scale that up. And for an example, one of the folks that I'm working with is a gentleman out of Harvard from China who started the China Good Food Fund. And he had me speak last year at Chinese New Year, and there were 7 million people on the call. He wants to share this in China, right? I have a gentleman in Israel and London who's got a group called Vegan Friendly, and he wants to share it over there. Spoke with somebody from London this morning. She wants to share it with her organization. Everybody thinks it's a great idea. I mean, imagine by next year, if we can have 10 million people around the country and world sharing a movie with 10 people, that would be 100 million people watching these movies, right? And that's when we really start to move the needle. And it's all there. We just have to activate it.
It's so true. 100%. Are you going to be hosting movie nights at Plant City?
Absolutely. Absolutely. When Game Changers first came out, I hosted it every night until it just stopped. People stopped coming. But on December 4th, Monday, December 4th, when we launch this, we'll be doing dinner and a movie at Plant City. And I'm going to close down the upstairs and do a big Monday night event up there. And I think it'll be like $20 or $25. It'll be way more food than the ticket price, but it'll be a fun night. And we're going to try to get people to bring their friends who are not aware of this issue, who are the kind of people that they have to drag to Plant City to eat a meal and leave being like, wow, oh, okay, I get it now. I don't have to eat lettuce and tofu for the rest of my life. That was really good. So lead with the movies and follow with good food and we're good.
Well, what impact do you think movie nights are going to have?
It's just a matter of how many people we can reach, right?
Yeah.
I know what's happened here. My favorite restaurant up the road now has a vegan menu, right? Never dreamed of doing that until I brought, in the middle of January, 150 people on a night that they were closed on a Monday, 150 plant-based eaters at $25 a piece. They had a really successful night when they would have been closed and it would have been dead. So they could see the power of the money from the customers who want to eat that way. And if we can create more people who want to eat that way, then more restaurants, more food companies, all of these alt protein companies will have more success. But it all starts with knowledge, right? You have to have the knowledge to make the move to want to eat that way. I was showing a local school, a charter school in South Providence. The guy who directs it is plant-based. And I was talking to them and they decided to do some plant-based food in the cafeterias and it was good, but the kids weren't really eating it. And I'm like, Dennis, you've got to show them the why. So every Monday we would do an event with 25 kids in a classroom. And over the course of the year, we saw all 1,000 kids and admin and told them the why. And we did, an 8-minute video from Neil Barnard at PCRM, and we would serve hummus pods and tortilla soup and talk to them about the climate and the environment and the social justice issues around animal husbandry. And then they were going in and like grabbing the food and eating it because they understood the why. People have to have their why. And the movies give people the why.
100%. You do have to have the why. And I just got to share a quick story about Game Changers. We saw it in the movie, and I went with my husband and my girlfriend and her daughter, who was in her 30s. And the four of us were sitting together. And then that scene came on where the urologist starts talking about the three guys and the machine that he had them use. And after that scene, my husband immediately wanted to start talking to me. And I'm like, shh, no, not in the movie. And so, of course, after the movie's over, you know, the women have to go to the bathroom. So we're in the bathroom, we're at the sink, and we're washing our hands. And I'm like, listen, I'm going to text you. I'm just going to say now, when my husband starts talking about that scene in the movie. Okay. And they're like, yeah, okay. Ha, ha, ha. You know, because I knew he wasn't going to talk about that scene in front of other women. Okay. Well, we didn't even clear the doorway of the bathroom. My husband was standing right there in the lobby, and he's very quiet spoken.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. I know your husband.
And he's like talking at the top of his lungs. I mean, oh my God. Did you see that thing? Oh. And all of us we just started laughing.
So for those of you out there who aren't aware what we're talking about, it's about erectile dysfunction being the canary in the coal mine. And
right?
How these young men should know that there's reasons why things happen or don't happen down there, and a plant-based diet is the way to be on the right side of that. And we'll just leave it at that. But it's a 100%. Great scene.
It is a great scene, and if there's one way to get men to want to go on to plant-based living, that's the scene to show them for sure. For sure. And we do know that our good friend Dr. Robert Oxfeld is going to be following up with a study, an actual blue ribbon, double-blind placebo, whatever study. Yes. And he's going to be doing it. So
yeah, I think he's doing it now. I think it started. I saw him a bit ago.
So
very exciting, because the results from that will be in every magazine and television morning show
ever. Well, Kim, thank you so much for taking on this initiative. Movie nights are going to be a great addition to helping to get the word out about plant-based living and the impact on our health, and not only our health, but the animal health, because they're going to be going, thanks for not killing us, and the health of our planet for sure.
Yeah. Well, and this is the one thing I speak a lot at universities around Providence and Rhode Island. And the one thing I share with them about why this matters is, you know, if the rising middle class around the globe in major countries like China and India, there's a massive rising middle class, and those folks want meat, right? It's been calculated to fill that need. If those folks want the 9 ounces of animal protein per day that Americans eat, it'd be calculated that we would need 4.5 planets to fill that need. And that is unsustainable, period, hard stop. So we have to find another way, and we have to show people that plant-based eating is important for the health of the planet and also their personal health and for other reasons as well. But without that knowledge, what's going to encourage them to move away from what they've always had?
A guiding light for all of us. So,
well, I hope everybody that's out there will consider hosting a movie night. It's very easy. Just invite some friends and have a good time. And then go to our Instagram page, we're Global Movie Nights, and that'll be up soon. And let us know how it went. We'd love to share your story.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeanne.